They start talking about the assassination of JFK and RFK. He's kind of not willing to actually acknowledge that JFK was assassinated by the CIA. He acts like it was Oswald, and Oswald might have said something to the CIA. Anyway.
In the U.S., first half of the 20th century, overdrive, 1940s, you had the Manhattan Project, was this giant secret project, 1950s, 1960s. And then somehow the last 50 years, I think I'm not sure disturbing, but the perspective I have is these institutions are less functional. I don't think the CIA is doing anything quite like MKUltra anymore.
Why do you think that?
But how about more than why do you think that, which we'll get to that in a second. Why the fuck would you want them to? MKUltra was horrific. It was experimenting on people against their will without them knowing. It was destroying lives. It was innocent people. It was like, why would you want that? This is what I mean by a true sociopath. Like, to be like, oh yeah, some of the most horrific shit that our government has done, I'm a little upset it's not getting done right now. I'm a little upset that our government isn't able to effectively destroy the lives of innocent people and assassinate people as easily. Like, that's what he's saying without saying it. Because he talks about MKUltra, he says, man, I wish they were still doing that stuff. Now, of course, they are still doing that. They're assassinating people around the world, stuff I cover all the time, major psyops, etc. Let's continue. Joe Rogan, by the way, remember, just asked, why do you think they aren't doing MKUltra and that type of stuff anymore?
I think you had the Church Commission hearings in the late 70s, and somehow things got exposed. And then when bureaucracy is forced to be formalized, it probably becomes a lot less functional.
He said things got exposed, and oh, that was terrible. There are not even, like, even right wing, even Republicans, there are so many people, they would never admit that CIA and MKUltra was a good thing. Instead, they go, oh man, that was a rough time in our nation's past, and thank goodness that's over. Now, that's also dumb. But this lunatic is like, man, we need more. I mean, think about everything MKUltra was. It involved incredible racism, destroying the black community, just locking up people for years and years, infiltrating groups, infiltrating the media, and having the media do the CIA's bidding, bringing Nazis in Operation Paperclip, which I know is MKUltra adjacent, but Operation Paperclip, bring Nazis into the U.S. to work with the U.S. government, assassinating MLK, Malcolm X, JFK, RFK, Medgar Evers, Fred Hampton. The list goes on. All of that is wrapped up in exactly what he's saying is too bad it's not getting done anymore. I mean, that is a level of, and I don't know, this may have just kind of gone past Joe Rogan. He didn't quite notice. Instead, Joe Rogan just asks why he thinks this stuff isn't still going on, which of course it is still going on.
Or like the 2000s version, I think there was a lot of crazy stuff that we did in black sites, torturing people, that the CIA ran, and in the war on terror, waterboarding, there's all sorts of batshit crazy stuff that happened. But then, once John Yoo in the Bush 43 administration writes the torture memos and sort of formalizes this is how many times you can water dunk someone without it being torture, et cetera, et cetera. Once you formalize it, people somehow know that it's on its way out because, it doesn't quite work anymore. So
he's talking about that as a negative. We couldn't torture people anymore. Damn. Like, what a lunatic. Also, you notice he called it water dunking in order to minimize what waterboarding is, which is straight up torture. And anybody, in that great moment, Christopher Hitchens, when he was still around, he had claimed waterboarding was not torture. And then he offered to have it done to himself to prove it. What they do, because you can't talk, right? They're sticking a rag and water in your mouth and everything. What they do, if you're in one of these tests and not actually being waterboarded as a tortured prisoner, they give you a weight in your hand. And they say, if you want us to stop, drop the weight, let go of the weight. And so they start doing it. Videos probably still out there. They start doing it to Christopher Hitchens. And within about 0.3 seconds, he drops the weight. And then it's like 3 seconds. And then they, sit him up and take the rag out and everything. And he goes, oh, it's torture. It's absolutely torture. This was a guy who said for weeks and weeks or months and months, it's not torture. It's fine. It's just dunking someone's head in water. My point is just, this lunatic is lamenting that the U.S. doesn't torture people as much as we used to. Even though a moment ago he called it crazy stuff. He said, I remember we used to do all that crazy stuff, but then we legitimized it by writing the torture memo, which then showed it was on its way out. Damn it. Oh, man. We can't fucking lock people in closets with stinging bugs anymore. Damn it.
I don't know, by 2007, at Guantanamo, I think the inmates were running the asylum. The inmates and the defense lawyers were running it. You were way safer as a Muslim terrorist in Guantanamo than as a, let's say, suspected cop killer in Manhattan. There was still an informal process in Manhattan. You were a suspected cop killer. They'd figure out some way to deal with you outside the judicial.
Okay. Oh, there's so much lunacy, idiocy, and just downright insanity in what he's saying. First of all, the idea, oh, the inmates run the asylum. Oh, yeah, it's peaches and cream to be in Guantanamo after 2007. To be largely, almost exclusively, I mean, there were some people that were guilty of something, but most of them are innocent people that they can't even find out what to charge them with because there's nothing to charge them with. Many of them that were kept in Guantanamo for years after every court had said they need to be freed because there's nothing to charge them with. He's lamenting that things got a little better for the innocent people in Guantanamo Bay. Like how he's a multi-billionaire and he's lamenting that. Like, what a sick. Well, then you've got the fact that he is heralding the fact that a suspected cop killer, meaning no judge, no jury, no prosecution, no charges brought. This is just someone that the cops think they feel like killed a cop and now they're going to go deal with them. So this extrajudicial mafia gangland violence of murdering a person that has not been found guilty of anything is what he likes. He thinks is good. Also, the idea that any of this is libertarian, like, oh, the government isn't torturing people as much. Oh, that's innocent people largely. Oh, that's libertarian to want more torture, libertarian to want cops to go around killing people that they feel like are bad without any judge or jury. This is all anti-libertarian. He's also a weapons contractor. He is a war profiteer soaked in blood. How is that libertarian? Like, oh.
The formal judicial process. And but I think there was a sort of formalization that happened. There was the post J. Edgar Hoover FBI, where Hoover was, I don't know, a law unto himself.
All these things that he says he's missing. Oh man, if we just had the rogue FBI, CIA, MK Ultra, they're all anti-libertarian. This is the government using secret organizations to go after people outside of any judicial system. This is what he's lamenting. If you want freedom, you don't want some secret, top secret organization destroying lives. How is that freedom? None of this is libertarian. The stuff he's lamenting that's gone now, which it's not gone, but he pretends it is.
It's completely out of control. CIA even more so. And then, once it all gets exposed, and it probably is a lot harder to do. NSA probably held up longer as a deep state entity where it at least had the virtue people, I think the 1980s it was still referred to as no such agency.
So then he says, oh, the NSA probably did a little better in spying on all of us and infiltrating all of our lives. Does that sound like libertarianism? Does that sound like freedom to you? Or does that sound like crazy, disgusting government overreach? But he is lamenting again that the NSA is not more spying on all of us, spying on everyone around the world. He also, by the way, is part of a facial recognition company that's also a military contractor. Most of what he makes his money in is anti-freedom, is pro-war, yet he claims to be for freedom and for American isolationism, which is why he donates to Trump, because Trump is supposedly against the proxy war in Ukraine that the U.S. helped create. Then he is a weapons contractor that obviously facilitates all of our military entities to do what they do. So it's completely contradictory, but I guess he doesn't give a shit.